Hello and welcome to S13 dot point. This is about assessing the factors involved in long-term sustainability of agricultural systems, including Australian land classification or capability and whole farm planning. And thanks to Ruby for letting me use her sheet here. So this is an including dot point here. So we need to talk about both land classification and also whole farm planning. Now, the land capability classification actually is part of whole farm planning, but we need to look at them separately. So this is an example here of a physical map that's used in a whole farm plan. So a whole farm plan, as you might guess by the name, is looking at all of the aspects of the farm. So this is a physical map, but it also looks at the financial side of things, and also the social, like the workforce and that kind of thing, those kind of things as well. On the other hand, land capability classing is looking at different areas of land and dividing them up purely based on their ability or their productive ability. So you can see here examples. So this area down here is highly productive, pretty flat, should have pretty deep soil and would be able to be cropped year round. And it's considered a class 2, and the classes go from 1 all the way through to 8. As you move up, to a 4, for example, here, you get steeper land. It's going to be maybe more rocky. It's probably not going to be cropping land, but it's going to be more like grazing land. You could have animals on there grazing, but the chances of things like erosion is increased on a higher land class. And then obviously you get to something like 7, which is probably beyond even grazing. It's basically just forests, really steep, maybe rocky as well. So as you move up through the classes, the land gets a bit more inhospitable to agriculture. So first of all, it's with land capability classification, it'd be a good idea to look at this website and to read this information in the textbook. But basically, land capability is the inherent physical capacity of the land to sustain a range of land uses and management practices in the long term without degradation of soil, water, land, and air resources. And the classing is divided up based on its capability. So you can see here there's a summary of each of the classes here, but it goes 1 through to 8, and basically 1 means flat, capable of anything. Basically, you can regularly crop it, and as you move down the chart, it becomes even less productive. So it'd be good if you looked up the document and looked up the numbers, the specific numbers, to give you an idea of the different land classes and have an idea of what a different land class number means. The next point is, what is the purpose of dividing land up into classes? Now, if we divide each part of our land or property up into these classes, and we fence off each area, so you would have a fence separating class 2, you would have a fence separating class 4. What you can do actually is manage these areas differently. So for example, you don't want to manage a area 2 in the same way that you manage an area 4, because if you had animals grazing on here, it's not likely to cause much erosion, but if you had animals grazing up here, it's likely to cause significant erosion. You also want it to help increase your profitability, and this area is probably not great for grazing because it's really great for cropping, and you could make a lot of money out of cropping here, whereas you can't do cropping here, so it's better to fence this off and probably have livestock on here. So that's the reason why we want to divide the land up into those areas. The next question, explain how it helps improve profitability and sustainability. Follow on from the last question that I mentioned or answered. Land capability classes allow land to be split up according to the capability, fenced off accordingly. By managing each area according to its ability only, land will be able to produce at its maximum capability whilst keeping in mind the sustainable use of that area. This will increase profitability, but also management practice can ensure sustainability for a given area. So that is an example of land capability classing. Now, whole farm planning, again, I recommend that you watch this video. It really explains it, and have a look at these sites and also read the textbook, and then make your own notes here on the video. But basically, whole farm planning is a process of planning, property design, and management based on natural resources and financial or economic aspects as well. And it focuses on the entire farm over a long period of time. So you do things like land classing, soils, water supply, biodiversity, pastures, also economics, as we mentioned here. And basically all of those things are considered in a whole farm plan. And so the benefits of it is it's basically having a plan of where you want your farm to go. It's starting from scratch and dividing up your farm and using it according to its ability in different areas, and therefore over time that might mean changing the location of fences. It might mean changing the way you do things or the way you place things over time to improve the sustainability and profitability of those areas. Remember, you're going to use land capability classing as part of your whole farm plan. When do you need a whole farm plan? It could be a requirement for planning applications in rural areas. It could also be helpful if you're kind of trying to get a loan for your farm, for your enterprise from a bank. They'd want to see that you are successful at managing the land and have a plan for it. So whole farm planning started in the 1950s in Australia, and it was based off a US system, and they have become more popular since the 1980s to address the sustainability of farms. So how does it help improve productivity and sustainability? Basically, whole farm planning helps maximize the use of various areas of land, but also seeks to maximize the use of financial and other physical resources. And by utilizing whole farm plans over a longer term, it can improve sustainability as the business has a plan for survival long term. All right, so this is a past HC questions from 2015. Explain how land capability assessments can be used to improve the long-term sustainability. A sample answer here is land capability assessment involves using a classification system to gain knowledge regarding the suitability of a piece of land for particular agricultural activities and to identify land that is not suitable for farming. The 5-class system, although we look at an 8-class system, has been developed by the New South Wales DPI. It evaluates the social, physical and historical factors that pertain to the land under investigation. The resulting land class placed on the land from 1 to 5 indicates the range of agricultural practices. Remember, we did 1 to 8. There's 2 different systems, but it's okay to talk about either. Indicates the range of agricultural practices that can be safely carried out on the land. For example, only land classified as class 1 or 2 can be cultivated regularly. Cultivation on 3 or more is likely to lead to erosion. Hence, land classification enhances sustainability by ensuring that land use is closely matched to the capacity of the land to withstand detrimental effects associated with farming. So remember that this is a kind of minimum response to get full marks, and it'd be good if you had a bit more in there too. So the question is, how do Australian land capability assessment systems encourage more sustainable farming? And they regulate farmers what they can and can't do. That's not true. They enable the financial capability of land to be calculated. That's not what you're doing. When land is used according to assessed capability, land degradation issues are reduced. This is correct, and farmers can change the capability of the land. That is not correct. All right, so for this question, this is a 2-mark question. How can farm planning or whole farm planning be used to improve sustainability? So something like this, farm sustainability can be used to improve or can be improved by using specific areas of the farm according to their capability. For example, it can be used to ensure that only areas with suitable soils and slope are used for cropping, hence reducing soil erosion and siltation or silt buildup of waterways. Steeper slopes are reserved for grazing or revegetation programs. You could have talked about windbreaks, refencing, fencing of riparian zones, etc. This last question here from 2011, how might the implementation of Australian land capability classification affect the profitability and sustainability of agricultural systems? So the Australian land capability classification system is a ranking of areas of land based on their productive capacity. So flat areas are highly productive, deep soils and are 1 rating, while steep rocky areas are 8. Land areas are rated between these numbers. Using this system, farmers can fence land according to capability and hence use each area to its sustainable maximum. For example, an area 1 would be suitable for constant cropping in rotation, and area 3 or 4 might require more lay pastures phases or fallow time to be sustainable. And so determining the difference between these types leads to both increased profitability and sustainability.